Boosie has some things to say about the color purple.
So yesterday, I made a video talking about Boosie's reaction to the color purple. And what I like about sharing these types of stories is that it gets the girlies talking. And what this woman said is completely true. She says, what is hilarious is that Black men are saying it's pushing an anti male agenda and promoting lesbianism, despite being a remake. These dudes really believe there should be no criticism of them at all. In addition, they really believed the fantasy that men provided and protected their families back in the day. For far too long, women, Black women, have not been able to speak our narratives without being shut down. Most of the times, our books, our history has been filtered through the mouthpieces of men. And so these things have been happening. The things that happen in the color purple happened to our grandmothers and our mothers and our aunties and our big cousins. A lot of this stuff was swept under the rug because there were also other social implications during those times, like racism and just surviving. And so there were things going on within the household, but for so long, they were like, you don't take family business out, or you couldn't trust the police to do anything. So you just had to kind of grin and bear it and figure things out within the dynamic of the home. And you just don't tell outsiders your business. And, you know, they don't want to or didn't want to protect the women. The image, the image of Black men was more important than the safety and security of the women. The image of Black men was more important than the safety and security and the mental and physical health of the women and children. So this woman made this comment yesterday. She's 25. She says, I went to see the movie with my grandmother, who's 75, and her three friends, who are all in their 70s and 80s, and my mom, who's 56. Three generations of Black women. The movie was incredible, and the theater was filled with older Black women. We all were in tears at the end and clapping. While we were leaving the theater, I had two older Black women come up to me and give me advice about not letting a man stand in my way and not giving up on my wants and desires. It was great hearing my grandma and her friends talk about their experiences with men and teaching me why it's important to have my own. Let me also note that my grandma and her friends are all in their 70s and 80s, happily single, and live in many mansions they own. The whole experience was eye opening and an inspiration. My mom shared some words of wisdom too about how lucky we are to not have been born in my grandma's time and to take advantage of the privileges we have now. If you haven't seen this movie yet, please do. It's phenomenal. I love it. I love the way Black women, we speak to these things and our experiences. You have to listen to the opinions of, you can listen to the opinions of men, but you have got to listen to the opinions of women as well, because we see things with a different set of eyes, because we have also talked to our grandmothers and aunties and mamas. They might not have talked to they, as in the men, might not have actually talked to their grannies and what they experienced as women. So I asked this woman if she could share a little bit more about what the older ladies were saying. And she said, sure thing. Feel free to share this if you like. I think I was the youngest in the theater because it was packed with Gen X and older Black women. For context, my group consisted of myself, 25. Okay, I already said all that. During the movie, there were scenes where I could hear all the ladies in the theater crying, myself included. The part where Celie was being abused by Mr. got the biggest outburst. I heard one woman in the back of the theater wailing when Mr. found out Celie had Nettie's letters. Sophia being ganged up on by white folks and in jail. Side note, my grandma was a mess during this part. I think this is because of a story she told my sister and I about a friend she had back in the 60s that was raped by a white officer when she got pulled over and he got away with it. Celie and Nettie being separated by Mr. Celie's famous scene where she cursed Mr., saying, I'm poor, I'm Black, I may even be ugly, but dear God, I'm here. I'm here. My mom broke down crying at this part because she's had horrible trauma with black men and colorism being a dark skinned black woman. Celie finding out that she owns her father's store after the funeral. Celie and the lady's big musical number when her shop opens up. The end when where Celie and Nettie reunite. Also, all of us were cheering and clapping during Celie's musical number, Hell No. It was so cathartic knowing that none of us were alone in being oppressed and abused by men. Once the movie was over, the two black women, they looked around 65, that weren't part of our group, walked up to me and talked about how their generation crawled so my mom could walk and so I could fly. Yes, absolutely. They asked me about my education, 2 bachelors, and told me to use my degrees to the absolute max because they had to marry in order to survive. And my generation of women are lucky. They blessed me to have a bright and prosperous future. When we were walking back to the car, the ladies in our group talked to me about how controversial the original was back in the 80s. Since I'm so young, I had no idea about any of this. Their husbands, now deceased or exes, complained about how it made black men look bad, and church pastors wanted this movie banned. My mom was 18 when the movie came out, so she strongly remembers the outcry from black men and some black women about how this movie was for the community. I'm sorry, how bad this movie was for the community's image, aka black men's image. My mom and the ladies agreed that the black men that had the most to say were the misters of the community. As my mom loves to say, if it don't apply, let it fly. During the car ride back to my grandma's, her friends talked about their experiences being beaten by their past partners. I'm not sure if they were talking about their late husbands or past men, by the way. She said that when she was my age, she used to love shimmy dresses, but a boyfriend beat her up so bad that all the strings on her dress tore off, and she's never worn or bought a shimmy dress again. The other friend didn't dive into details, but she did say an ex beat her on the head, and she didn't wake up until the next day. My grandma didn't talk about her experiences since she's already told me about them. Yes, them. She was put through the ringer with multiple men throughout her life. She's been she's been happily single for many years and is at peace. The biggest lessons the older ladies had for me was to not let a man steer me away from my goals and not to take abuse or any other nonsense. Life is too short, and if you don't look out for yourself, these men will drain you and not give a damn. They told me to secure my future and a retirement fund so I could live like them. Like I said in my earlier comment, my grandma and her friends live in basically mini mansions, beautiful houses, fully furnished. They look like something straight out of IKEA catalogs, clean and fridges filled with home cooked meals. They all go to the same gym, so it's common for them to get hit on by older men. To quote my grandma, we already know what they want: a place to stay. We don't want no N word in our house, eating up our food, tearing up our furniture, and leaving dookie stains on our towels. I love my grandma. Anyways, this movie was an incredible experience, and it feels good knowing that none of us are alone in this. I'm sure this is a no brainer, but I strongly urge all women to talk to their grandmas, aunties, mothers, etc., about what they went through and learn from them. My mom and grandma have told me that it's not so much that men have changed, it's just that they've gotten better at hiding their abuse. So I just wanted to share that because I feel like this is just such a powerful review. And it speaks to so many of our grandmothers and our mothers and our aunties' experience. And this just gives women the chance to speak because so many Black people live in a fairy tale land where women were not treated like this. And they get so uncomfortable when women speak their true experiences. They want us to live in fairy tale land. They want to continue to live in Delulu land, and we're not having it. People like me will continue to shine a bright light. They're not going to shut me up in any way, but you guys continue the conversation and don't forget to like, comment, and share.
Boosie has.
Okay, so Boosie went to Twitter again with a lot more cap locks after being criticized for his first tweet. And yeah, this is just loud. Why, if someone doesn't agree with the rainbow narrative that's being pushed, why do y'all say that person who doesn't agree is a rainbow person? That's bullying. We have the right as parents to say it's not cool for a 7 and 9-year-old to watch this. We have rights as parents to protect our children as much as we can. I have no problem with rainbow people. My granddad was a preacher, Southern Baptist, and I'm just trying to raise my kids with the same beliefs and respect we was raised with. It's just this world will have you in a fight to do so. Now, keep in mind, this is Bootsy, the same man who hired adult women to gratify his son and nephew, as in this woman's tweet towards him at the bottom. Whew. Just keep in mind that this person who just said that his granddaddy was a pastor, a preacher, Southern Baptist, and he just has these morals, and his morals are just not in alignment. But what he did with his nephews and sons, perfectly in alignment, perfectly fine. And someone responded, they 12, 13, ain't like they were 8 or 9. You sad as hell. So this person is taking up for him by saying that 12 and 13 was perfectly fine. And those are not minors. But that just goes to show that these people are very loose with their morals. Like they could massage it and make it make sense despite it not making any sense. So then that woman said he had the right to protect his children from being gay, but not SA'd. And then this person said, well, technically you right, but it's the right message, just the wrong messenger. Like I said, they just massage this stuff. Then somebody else said, no, the message is effing stupid. The movie is rated PG-13, and anyone familiar with the source material knows what happens in the movie. Yes, we all know what happens in the movie, and there are so many other issues in this movie, but he's not complaining about those other issues. It's just the scene that is, beyond the pale for his kids who shouldn't have been there, because this is not a kid-friendly movie. Just like hiring women for his 12 and 13-year-old family members is not kid-friendly either. Now, that brings me to a story time. Someone reached out to me on Instagram with this story time about little Boosie. She says, hey, honey, so I just finished watching your YouTube video on little Boosie walking out on the color purple. So I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and while I was attending college at USM in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which is only 2 hours away, I worked for Boosie. He was a good boss before he went to prison, but because of me working for him, I got to see some of the craziness that is him. Boosie has type 1 diabetes, and back then he was popping X pills and sipping so much lean, that's hydrocodone mixed with Sprite. I had to rush him to the hospital so many times, and I had to carry his insulin and syringes with me every night I worked, which was Thursday through Sunday night every week. Remembering back on those days, I was crazy back then. I was 18 when I started working for him, until he was arrested for having assault rifles, being a felon, which he did do 4 years for, and for an unaliving charge, which they could not prove he did it. He didn't do it himself, but I know for a fact that he had a guy unalived. She continues with, the reason I brought all this up is because of all the kids he has. The last time I seen them, they were all really little. His oldest son was 9, and the youngest 2, he has 8 altogether, with 6 women. This man write a song called Baby Mama. Effing ridiculous, hypocritical song. But this man, when he got out, I no longer wanted that lifestyle, but I seen him once and I got into it with him because his oldest son was there, and it was his son's school dance. His school is the most popular kid in school because Boosie is extremely popular all over the South. But his son was a really good kid and was 16 and still a virgin. And Boosie bought a grown woman that was a stripper to the after dance party and paid the woman to seduce his 16-year-old son and take his V card. When I walked into the VIP room and asked where his son was, and Boosie laughed and was proud of what he just did to his son, I was livid. I couldn't believe this a-hole paid a stripper, woman of the night, to take his minor child's V card, and went on social media talking about it. And when I got him to turn off his damn phone, we continued to argue, and he tried to tell me that because he is a boy and not a girl, it's not pedophilia and soliciting sex to a minor with an adult. I also told him he is traumatizing his son. That poor baby did not want that stuff, and he easily could have gotten any girl in his school his age he wanted. But he wasn't ready to lose his V card yet. His father forced him to lose his V card, not only when he wasn't ready, but by way of a woman of the night. And that is when I knew I wanted nothing else to do with Boosie anymore. I couldn't even remain friends with him. Then I seen him post on social media with some disgusting beef he had with his 13-year-old daughter, which pissed me off. He is definitely a contender for celebrity dusty dads. So that is a story time that I got in my my inbox, relaying to this man who says that his granddaddy is a preacher. But what are they preaching? And what kind of morals do these people have? And why is it perfectly fine to create boy children that are reckless and loose with morals simply because they are boys? These people are so challenging to try to figure out their logic. They think that they're the most logical ones, but most of us can see through these, even with all of these cap locks that they do. Go ahead and join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.